Hi there, it's Sharon Waxman, the editor-in-chief of TheWrap, coming to you from our studio at the Toronto Film Festival. I'm so thrilled to bring you the cast and the writer-director of Life of Chuck, which is in the festival and has played like two fabulous receptions so far. Am I right? Yes, okay. Yes, all right then, thank you. All right, let's just go around and let everybody introduce themselves, if that's okay. Go ahead and say who you play.
I'm Karen Gillan and I play Felicia.
I'm Tom Hiddleston and I play Chuck Krantz, at least one version of Chuck Krantz.
I'm Chiwetel Ejiofor and I play Marty Anderson.
I'm Benjamin Pajak and I play young Chuck.
I'm Mike Flanagan, a writer-director, and I play one of the other Chucks you don't see in the movie.
And you play it really well. So, Mike, we're at TheWrap. We're huge fans of yours. You probably know that because we've gotten to interview you many times on other previous films. But this really is a really tour de force of a film. Beautiful. It's a little bit about the end of times. It's a little bit about human connection. It's a little bit about the meaning of life in some ways, like how do we find meaning and connection. Tell us why you took on the story and how it came to you and to tell it around this guy, Chuck Krantz.
Well, I read Stephen King's novella in April of 2020. So it was right after the COVID shutdown, and it really did kind of feel like the world was ending. And I think for all of us, it was this incredibly profound shift into, out of normal life and into this kind of light apocalyptic vibe that was taking over. And this story, of course, because of that, just grabbed onto me very intensely. But it was about the moments that bring joy into our lives and about the importance of being open to those moments and living, about how we live our life. And that made it feel completely timeless. It felt like a story that was very relevant then, but is just as relevant today, and I hope will be just as relevant 20 years from now.
I mean, we think of Stephen King as a horror writer. This is almost... I wouldn't categorize this as a horror film, but how did you approach it?
I don't think of it as a horror film at all. And the thing about Stephen King is that he's known for horror, but his horror only works because of his incredible empathy for his characters. And it's not, when you read a great Stephen King story, it's not about the monster. It's about the people who have to deal with it or stand against it. His love for humanity and his heart are what make him the writer that he is. And rarely in his career, but enough to give us things like The Shawshank Redemption and Stand By Me and The Green Mile, he writes from that heart without bringing the horror into it. And this was one of those stories.
Tom, you play Chuck Krantz, and he is this character who's sort of omnipresent as this weird... As a symbol of this, something strange is going on in the world, because he sort of starts appearing on billboards everywhere as the internet fails and life's normal, functions just kind of go to hell. But you're a real person. You're this accountant. You have a backstory. Ben plays the young version of you. How did you approach it? And when you looked at this script and read the book, how do you think about its depiction of a human being in the middle of this particular point in time?
Well, first of all, I think Mike's first experience, Mike sent me the script and I sat down to read it. And I think, like any audience member, I was so compelled by the mystery. On page 1, scene 1, I was introduced to Marty and very soon to Felicia. And they're living in this very destabilized period in time where it seems like environmental disaster and technological breakdown and human separation is at its height. And Chuck Krantz keeps appearing on billboards, on radio advertisements. And like, I think, the audience, I wanted to know, who is Chuck? Who's Chuck? Because also I knew that Mike had asked me to play Chuck. So I was like, okay, who is Chuck? It seems like the apocalypse is happening, and who is Chuck? And I was so compelled. It's in the novella and it's in the film. Who is this man? Who is this mysterious, ubiquitous figure who keeps appearing, who seems so ordinary, seems like an ordinary businessman, and he's being given a send-off for retiring. 39 great years. Thanks, Chuck. And then you realize and I don't want to spoil things too much, but you realize that Chuck is an ordinary, and I mean this in the best way, I don't mean to diminish him or his life. He's an ordinary man, but in his ordinariness is a whole universe of constellations of relationships, connections between people, memories, experiences, of happiness and sadness, grief, loss, and joy, and that those, all those things that are contained in his internal world are like stars in the sky, and as he's dying, those stars are going out. Is that really it's about the life of one man that can represent all of our lives, and that each and every human life contains multitudes. Each and every human life contains interior constellations of connections and memories and joy, experiences of pain and loss and grief and sadness, but also love and family. And so as I approached it, I found the script incredibly moving. Truthfully, I found it also deeply thrilling because of the construction of the way the narrative unfolds, which is backwards. And then understanding that, in a way, my responsibility as an actor would be to present two things: to present somebody who, on the surface, in the external world, seemed very ordinary. Chuck Krantz, a accountant dressed in the armor of accountancy, grey suit, and probably unremarkable to the casual observer on the street. But on the inside, he's carrying this whole ocean of human experience, which could maybe resonate with every human experience.
Well, beautifully put. Chiwetel, let's talk. Your character comes in as a teacher, and what is so effective, I think, about what you portray is that you are a guy who's not going to listen to all the bullshit, noise, nonsense. You're just kind of moving forward in your life as things are failing, internet's failing, television's failing, we're figuring out California is like falling into the ocean, things like that. But then when there's a turn, it's the audience is with you through you seeing, oh, this actually might be the end of the universe, and it's really chilling. So talk a little bit about how you think about the end of the universe, because I am interested in your thoughts, and then B, about how you sort of channel that in your performance.
Yeah, thank you. I just thought that it was, I think that what intrigued me was how beautifully constructed it was, from the moment I started reading the script. And that this kind of preservation of normality struck me as pretty honest, actually. It borders on denial, but it's a completely understandable form of denial. If you're facing the end of everything, the whole of existence, wiped out, and you're attempting to deal with whatever that last remnant of humanity is, that actually to kind of put it in a box, to try to get on with the day-to-day, sounds sort of insane, but it also sounds very truthful, and it seems very honest, it seems very human. And that's what I was immediately drawn to by Marty. And then this idea that as that develops and as it kind of gets worse, what he really starts to crave is this connection, is this idea of looking back at the people in your life that have really made a difference, that have really impacted you, and reaching out to them. And that's, this relationship that he has with his ex-wife, Felicia, and trying to rekindle that connection, re-understand that connection, without really discussing the relationship, without discussing the things that went wrong particularly, but with just sort of understanding that none of that matters in a way, all that matters is the love, the connection to that. It just, all of it struck me, and the way that the sort of character arcs, as you're sort of saying, that it's done with, there's a gentleness to that arc. You sort of follow his story, you follow their story, you follow their sort of deepening reliance on each other in a very sort of beautiful and organic way. So I was really struck by that, and it reflects kind of what I feel about, existence in many ways, that actually that profound love is the only thing, it connects us all, it connects our sort of consciousness in that sort of Eastern philosophy sort of way, that is, that we're all part of the consciousness of another being, a much greater being, but we're all connected through that, and that's sort of, so the end of the world in this story is just the beginning of the story. And in a way, that's how I feel as well.
That's beautiful. Karen, talk about your character and your relationship with Marty and...
So I play Felicia. She is a nurse and she's dealing with the end of the world as well. And many people are reacting in different ways, but a lot of people are actually taking their own lives. And she's sort of overwhelmed at the hospital. And she is the ex-wife of Marty. And I think with her, like she's a caregiver through and through. That's who she is at her core. And I think that extended to her relationship with Marty in many ways. And then I guess they reconnect when they sort of feel like it is time for the end of everything, and have a kind of beautiful conversation, and a beautiful few moments together before the actual end. And yeah, it's just a lovely kind of beat where you're just seeing two people seeking out that connection, and everything else falling away, and all that matters is a strong connection with someone that you love in some way.
It's a really beautiful scene and beautifully shot and conceived. Ben, how old are you? 13. Okay. What do you think about the end of the world?
Well, it's funny you mentioned this. I was actually watching a video the other day on, how the universe could end. And one thing that stood out to me is that a lot of people said it would die in ice, that it would not go out in sort of an anger, fiery way. I do kind of believe that, at the end of time, it will sort of be beautiful, and it won't be, something that we look on like, why is this happening? Why is this happening to us? What did we do to deserve this? And I think that, at least how I look at how, humans look at our race and why we're here, we're all here for the same purpose. It's just to live, and to enjoy our time here. And I think that this story kind of, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's amazing. But no, I'm going today.
And
We're going from here to there to
You
see
are
it.
amazing
Yeah.
in it.
But no, I
Have none of you guys seen
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we saw it last time.
it? You have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But Benjamin, keep going, because it may be the wisest thing I've heard this year. Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think, everyone who is involved on this film, I didn't get to work with everyone on the film, but I know that, one of the things that I definitely saw was that everyone definitely was in the right state of mind, and they knew how to portray that on screen, and they came to work every day and were, emotionally prepared for the scenes that we were doing. I mean, it's a very heavy script that we were talking about, and I think that the way that this was put together with Mike, Eben, our cinematographer, I mean, it was put together in a way that was so right in a way, and it formed really well, and everyone kind of came to the script in a great way.
On a brighter note, Tom does some incredible dancing in this film.
So does
and
Benjamin.
so does Ben. That's what I was going to get
Yeah.
to, is that you guys both are incredible dancers. How did you train together? Did you...
Can I say something about Benjamin quickly? So I had the good fortune of being, we share the responsibility for Chuck, right? It's with Jacob.
Yep.
It's a three-way
Guys
thing.
very sweaty,
Yeah, that's okay. And we played Chuck at different points in his life. The sequence that I'm in was scheduled in the filming schedule. We were first up, so we had the first week, and I was with Annalise Basso and Taylor Gordon down in Fairhope, Alabama, with Mike dancing out in the sun, and Benjamin was down there, and he watched me dancing, and and is such an extraordinary, conscientious performer that actually in his performance he has taken some of my mannerisms and put them into his choreography. And I didn't know he was going to do that until I saw the film, and it is absolutely dazzling. Like just because I didn't realize he was watching me so closely, and these are just little things I was doing.
You are both delightful dancers, completely unexpected.
This guy is Fred Astaire.
Well, I didn't know you could dance. Him, I never met. So anything he does will surprise me and will surprise the audience. Thank you so much, Life of Chuck people, for coming. Great film. They're going to pull you because you've got to get to your screening, but I hope that you get as great response to it as you've gotten so far, all the way down the line, because it's a really wonderful piece. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Sharon.
Thanks so much.